Hi everyone, welcome back to Toon and Lee's farm in Thailand. It's a misty, moist morning. I had one hell of a drop of rain last night and the night before. Now today is not something totally new. It's an update on the rice situation, which would sound a bit boring, so I'm going to try and mix things up a bit. But first, I'll give you an update on the situation. So the rice is ready and over half of it has disappeared. I would say about 70% is out. Now me and Toon did about 10%, maybe 15% of that. That was for the rice that was ready a little bit earlier than the majority of it. Now on a vlog, I think it was 2 or 3 vlogs ago, I think it was the Duck Tsunami one, I did mention that there was a combine harvester in the neighbouring rice fields or just further up that way, and that they were going to come down once they'd finished their paddy fields. Their combine broke. By the time they got back to where we are, it was dark and the dew had come down, so they said not a good idea to cut it. And then we also discovered that they wouldn't come back all this way just to do 2 rye. No one would come. So we're stuck with the prospect of having over 2 rye of ripe rice sitting in our paddy field. So what we're going to do, well, me and Toon don't mind the graft, but we just physically can't get it in time. So Toon rounded up 3 ladies from the WI in the village, and they descended upon the paddy field. They guaranteed that it would be all done in a day, 300 baht a pop, so for 900 baht we should have had it all cleared. Now I am neither a mathematician or a rice cutting stroke gathering expert, but I could tell from the first hour that was going to be a big ask, and indeed it was an epic fail. Several reasons, quite a few breaks, and the speed at which it was being cut in between the breaks. Toon didn't really have a word with them. She said that's just the way it is when you get people in at a set rate per day. If we'd agreed a set price for the job, she's convinced it would have been done in a day. So I bit my tongue. I wasn't particularly a happy bunny. That's it. So what I'd like to sort of expand upon is, and put out there, is cutting by hand a viable option compared to a combine harvester. So let's try and break it down and make a little bit of sense of it. Now before we get into the details of it all, cost and time and all that sort of thing, and effort, I was really holding out for doing it by hand to be on a par with using a harvester. And if there was only a little bit of difference in the cost of it, then of course we would go by hand. We'd like to think that we're helping the locals just a little bit by giving them a few days work. So the price comparisons for a combine to come in here, they're at least 500 baht a rye. Some are 700. Okay, so for 2 rye, even with my terrible maths, you're looking at about 1,000 baht. We're just over 2 rye. Toon reckons, and her mum reckons, 2 rye could be done in 1 day by 3 people if you crack the whip. So that would be 900 baht. So let's say they're the same price, 1,000 baht to get your rice in. Now the combine, that separates the rice seed from the grass, from the straw. Okay? And we could just get it all dumped back at the house to dry it off. The cutting by hand does not separate the rice, so you've got to do that by hand. There's a couple of ways of doing that, but I'll go into that a little bit later on in another vlog. Then you have to carry it back to the house. Now we use Ben-Hur. It was about, for just this lot, it was about 15 trips. Not an issue, but then that takes me or two out of the equation for a day as well. Well, one to bag it up and carry it to the Ben-Hur, and then another person to drive it back. So it's all back at the house, which you'll see soon, but it's still not separated. So we've got, so there's the first thing in favour of the combine. It separates it, and it actually puts it where you want it as well. Both need drying. Now, to tip it back, I wouldn't say in a favour or on a par. When you use a combine, it doesn't remove the rice straw, which we really do need. It's been a massive help for mulching and for the animal houses, and there's still a fair bit of rice seed sticking on there. Certainly the green rice seed, you still get a small seed in a lot of that, and the animals eat it. So for the free rice straw that we had, let's use the old finger again, over there, that took the best part of 2 days to get that back to the house. And he's not got 2 rye, so say that would be 3 days to remove all the rice straw from here if we used a combine. So cutting by hand, when you take your rice back, you obviously take your straw back as well. So that's at the house, easy to distribute. So what's best then? Well, we've still got bloody rice in the field, haven't we? So it's not even close, guys. As much as I'd like cutting by hand to win, it's not. I say it's not viable. It's an option, but it'll cost you more. It takes longer, and then you end up with a silly situation that we've now got the rains upon us. Most of the rice is ready, but it's still out there. So what's going to happen? Well, Mrs. G is going to have to get her arse in gear out there. She'll be cutting it, laying it onto a rice bag. I roll it up, bring it out to Ben-Hur, and then it's like motocross, sidecar motocross, ferrying it all back to the house. So, are we regretting growing rice? Not at all. It's a brilliant crop. I don't mean in general, because a lot of people, you know, discover that it's not a great thing to grow. But for our first attempt, we've done better than most around us, which is incredible. But here's another thing: the rice that we've grown can, but really shouldn't be eaten, because it's like bloody bullets. Toon's mum told us that really you grow another variety that will take about another 3 or 4 weeks, and that you can eat that. So we've grown all this rice that we can't eat. We weren't that bothered anyway. Well, we're not bothered at all, because it is primarily for the animals. We eat posh rice. Now, so the next one will take a little bit longer to grow. Mainly it will still be for the animals, but a little bit will be for us as well. Now the other drawback is, because it was our first effort and we tried to get it in quick as possible, which is our usual scenario, and that this hasn't been rice farmed for quite a few years, it was quite uneven. And although Toon's nephew Lek got the tot in there and tried to level it out, we should have spent another day or two doing that, because we had some deep areas just here and down there. Now some areas were sown extra thick intentionally for Toon to thin them out and then populate the deep areas. There were quite a few areas that were left too thickly sown, and what happens there, the plant doesn't grow quite so big, it's stifled if you like, and the rice yield is slightly lower. The best yield you get is where you hand plant it. So that's something to improve on. Apart from that, I don't think we could have done anything better, unless I'm just missing something, which is quite possible. So when you get an even yield of rice, and what I mean by that is when it's all ready at the same time, that's the rice seed that you should keep. So here's another drawback: we shouldn't really keep this rice seed for sowing again, because it's already at all different times. So there's another cock up that you need to learn from if you're growing rice regularly. But it's all about learning, isn't it? It's nothing, we're not, certainly not disheartened. Bloody hell, we've probably got 50% more rice than we hoped for. I mean, when we first did it, I was a bit of a skeptic, I have to admit. Toon had a heart set on growing some rice. You scared the shit out of me, gang. So as often the case, I let her do it, thinking, she'll bin this after one crop. Really, we're hooked now. If it grows this well every time, it's a no-brainer. Weight-wise, now of course it's hard for us to calculate, but we have had a chat with Toon's mum, and they used to grow rice for many, many years. If you get a really good yield, you're looking at about 1 tonne per rye. That's what we've been told. We haven't got a perfect yield, but we're doing better than, like I said, better than most round here. So we would put it at maybe 700 or 800 kg per rye. So I can't do the maths. What is it? 1.6 tonnes, something like that ish. If we had to buy all that, 62 baht a kg. No, 62 baht for 10 kg. It's, I haven't got my virtual calculator with me. So cost-wise, and we're saving a little bit, but it's time and effort. But it's, I don't know, it's quite, how does it feel? Wholesome, is that the right word? It feels really good growing rice. I can see the appeal. And of course, you only have to wait about 3 to 4 months in between crops. Now, some farmers near us can't grow rice all year round. They probably miss about 3 or 4 months in the drier period of the year. It's not an issue for us because we've now got half a hoofing Great Lake right next to it. So we've got a spare solar panel and a spare pump from the old house. Toon's going to do some Thai electrics, jiggery pokery, and set that up to pump water all day long out of the lake into an enlarged paddy area out here. There's going to be lots of Caesaring in there. We're going to get the old Kubota in there. I'm going to rip that shit up and enlarge the area. And then we'll see how it goes. One of the problems we've got is it is so weedy this end of the farm. We had initially put some eucalyptus in there, and I tell you what, it's, I can't say Jumanji again, can I? But it's like that long grass in Jurassic Park that the velociraptors like. It's like going in there, guys, and I really don't like it. So we thought, well, if we can chop it all up and fill it up with water, let's drown the shit out of it all and grow rice for 1 or 2 cycles. Then after that, bring the rice paddy down in size again, and then we can put our palms in. Otherwise, I'm going to spend half my life driving around cutting soil, and Toon's going to be spraying bloody chemicals every day of the week, and we don't want that. So that's the plan. Try and get the rest of this rice out. It's just started raining again, so that's not happening today. Increase the rice paddy size, drown the shit out of all the weeds. Then after a couple of cycles, we're going to plant our palms. Simple as peas. Back to the house. Mrs. G just spreading out the rice straw. We've come up with an ingenious way, or potentially ingenious way, that's never been seen before on YouTube. probably never been seen in the world before, of how to separate the rice seed from the straw in a fun and easy way to do it. Now there are a couple of other ways that you can do this. One is called, well, what we've called the bang stick. You make a pile of it and then you have a couple of sticks just tied together and you basically just keep twatting it. The other way, Toon specifically said I'm not allowed to record it, but we have been doing it, is to separate it by foot. Feet on rice. And that's the reason Toon doesn't want it on video, is because some people start getting the knickers in a twist, saying you can't put your feet on rice. But just think about it, guys. That's the way they've done it for bloody hundreds of years, and we're doing it for rice that's for the animals. So I want to.
Sit down and pick one seed.
That's the way you do it.
One seed. Fuck off.
So stay tuned, and you'll see in a moment our brand new innovation of how to separate the rice. I know some of you guys are huge fans of our Ben-Hur ride, so we've made a bit of a modification here. We've incorporated a temporary weighting system which will then load up said swing arm, give us a bit more traction, and then we're going to go round and round and round and separate the rice from the straw. Easy. This is it then.
Looking good, looking good.
You want to go?
Okay, thanks. Any better?
Like a skid back.
Might have to top up petrol, nah.
25-30 minutes. That reminded me, well, give me a flashback from watching Kickstart on TV. It's like motocross, but sidecar motocross, while separating your rice seed from the straw. Is there anything better to do on a Sunday wet afternoon? Brilliant. Let's have a little look. Irrelevant if it's worked or not, it was bloody good fun. There you go, just a little bit of green rice seed left. It's looking pretty good. So, anyone that's interested in coming and having a farm stay in the future, you too can have a go for a small fee on Ben Hur. Fill your boots for a morning. I used to be hooked on go-karting in the UK, but that beats it hands down. I did have one little mishap. I decided to go clockwise. Of course, the turning circle is then considerably wider, and I did knock that water feature a few inches over, but no breakages. I did have a couple of power slides as well, and at one point I did have a tank slapper, so I am thinking about putting a steering damper on the Ben Hur. Someone did suggest previously getting a quad. I thought it was a bit overkill. I really need one now. 4 fat wheels on that. Power drifting around the centre post. Awesome. Okay guys, thanks as always for watching. And say it.
Ta-da!
Ta-da for now. Bye bye bye. Nearly give you a haircut a couple of times, didn't we, Bambi? Hey?